You're taking the emotion out of the trading, right? So you've trained the AI minus any potential emotion that could get in the way.
When I got this breakthrough, I started going into AI deep. And there was a point for me when it got scary.
You still can't control what bad people do.
I'm so excited every day, bro, that I can't sleep anymore.
Trey Rush is a businessman, entrepreneur.
I want people to get excited about life.
He's here to teach, and we're here to learn.
Think outside of your daily struggle.
Bro, things happen. Do they happen to you or do they happen for you? It's your decision. It's your choice.
As long as you just keep pushing forward and progressing, you're ultimately going to get there.
All right. What's up, Jay?
Sure.
Everything good, brother?
Welcome to Miami, bro.
Thank you, man. So happy to be here, bro.
Yeah, how you feeling, man? How's the city treating you so far?
So far, so good, bro. It's, I love the weather. Actually, it's excellent weather, bro. Yeah, I'm happy.
Can't complain about Miami, bro.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Nah,
yeah.
facts. Every day I still pinch myself. Like, do I really live here? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
is
born
home.
and raised here, and it's the same. You look around sometime, like, oh man, like I really do live where people vacation.
You're one of the few, bro. Like, I would say my assumption is 1 out of every 20 people you talk to in South Florida is actually born and raised here.
Yeah.
I would say it's got to be around those numbers. Maybe 1 in
Yeah.
10. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but 1 in 10, 1 in 2 in 10, something like that, 20%. That's my assumption. From my
Everyone's
experience.
moving down here, man. It's an international hub too, especially
Right.
after COVID. Everybody came
yeah.
down. Forget about it.
Yeah. So, guys, we got our good friend, business partner, Jay Pizarro. We're gonna give a quick introduction, Jay, because we cannot talk without letting the people know. For those that don't know you, we look up to you in terms of your business insight, your savviness, like everything that you've done, and we got to highlight some of it, brother, because you are super successful, but also like a great human being, bro. So we're very happy to have you on the show, brother. So Jay is a global leader in trading, technology, and business development, known for his pioneering work and influential network in digital markets. Jay has a deep expertise in futures, Forex trading. You're currently building Empire of Traders, which we're obviously going to talk about. Huge venture. I know you're super excited about that, as are we. And the initiative includes an in-progress ministry-backed college certified trading program. So we're going to get into all of that. Jay, you have worked with some incredible names, Ronaldinho, Diogo Snow, my brother, Jeremy Bieber, Naldo Benny, Bieber Industries, just to name a few. And now you're here sitting with us. So we appreciate your time, bro. Excited to have a good conversation with you.
Likewise, man. I'm super thankful to be here. I'm looking forward to the questions, brother.
Let's get it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I mean, and just to start it off, I mean, because obviously you're involved, it sounds like you're involved in a little bit of everything because you have finance and everything in regards to like trading, markets, so on and so forth. But obviously you're deeply embedded into the AI and tech space. I've seen when I met you, you were doing some incredible things in augmented reality. I mean, you put me onto so many things I had no idea about before you came along into my life. So just to open up, man, I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey. I want to talk about your journey into AI and technology. I'd like to know a little bit about what inspires you to pursue those fields and then also the transition to finance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, AI, what happened is I was always interested in the subject, and I had 3 attempts at learning it. Basically, is where I would go in and look at the latest research papers and go through it, and I would not understand it. It was like a different language. Basically, I would read the documents, and it was completely a different language. And
Okay, can you, before you continue, let us know like what time frame are we talking about when you were going through this process? Because as far as I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the people got to know this. You're one of the pioneers, bro. You're one of the people who was hands-on with AI. We're talking before ChatGPT, before AI became popular. So what time frame are we talking about right now?
So AI has been around for many years. The thing is that at some point it had a stop. And the stop was basically during 20 years is we were trying to improve how precise it was. And we had like very little progress. So I think this was back in 2016, 2017. I don't remember exactly when it was. But it basically there was a huge breakthrough in technology, which led us to deep learning. So deep learning is what made us, I don't know if you guys remember, but basically we used to have the scanners, and when you scan something, you had this option to move it to Word or something. So that is a part of artificial intelligence. Like what it did is it was able to translate almost everything, but it had mistakes. So what this meant is like they put this example, which is basically if we wanted to automate the U.S. mailing system, if you had a 90% precision or 98% precision, it means that out of 100 words, let's say with 98 precision, it just does not understand 2 of them. So it can't completely automate the system. You still need someone to do it. But with deep learning, basically in that breakthrough, it went to 99.9%. So
Wow.
so I guess is when this happened, there was this talk at Waterloo University, which was 45 minutes where I resided at the moment. And I went to see it. And basically is they were just giving the news that they had discovered this breakthrough. It was Google, and they were pushing TensorFlow. So and at this point is I remember just listening to this video because they put a video of the one of the persons that was really involved in it, and he said a question. He said something that was really iconic for me, and it was he said, "Do you guys want to know the truth of how we found this, or you want to know the mathematical explanation?" And everybody said the truth, you know. And he said, "Well, somebody added an extra 0 or an extra digit to the number, and it just works. So now we understand how the human brain works."
By accident.
By
pretty much.
accident.
Wow.
By accident. It's like kind of like the knowledge is released into the world, like according to what I can observe, and like some people can just pick it up. But basically, they had this knowledge, they released it, and I remember just trying to read it, trying to understand it, and I just couldn't break through. And then I remember just going to bed, praying. What I was working on is I was working on the virtuals. It was a project to teach morals to kids in an attempt to, improve the world. That's really what we were trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I remember just praying, manifesting, trying as best as I can to just, get some guidance on this, because I'm just hitting this wall and I just can't move through. And for me, it was just from day to night. Is I just woke up, I went and I read and I could understand it. It was just like reading, like literally, like something in a different language that you
light switch turned on.
It was just like that. So it was given to me, basically, Wow. So I just couldn't miss this opportunity.
So you woke up with all of a sudden this switch was on?
Yeah.
If you went to bed normal, not understanding it, you woke up the next day, you could all of a sudden grasp it.
I could grasp it, but
That's incredible.
Just such a big switch is I can understand it. So I read it once and I was like, oh my God, I can't understand it. I read it again, and then I'm a bit obsessive. So I went at it. I couldn't sleep. I went for it for 6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, just researching this thing, I started doing what Empire of Traders is doing now. So I went into the stock exchange. How can I apply this to the stock exchange? How can I apply this to what we were doing with the AI for teaching kids? Basically, how can we put like this brain into it and that it can teach kids? But for me, it was just like, to answer your question, it was one day that this gift was given to me, and I was not going to just waste it, and I just went at it. That's the truth.
Yeah, man. So that was your pivotal moment, pretty much, was like that conversation at Waterloo, and then from there, praying on it, manifesting over it, waking up one day and just figuring it out, right? That was your pivotal moment there that got you really obsessed with doing this?
Yeah. And for what I can, like for me, it was just like, it's a gift, because basically it's like, what are you asking the universe to provide to you? What are you asking God, or whatever you believe in? What do you want? And for me, it was that. It was like a path, like, what do I do? And it was given to me. So I just went fully at it. And it's funny because it's like stuff that we were doing in 2017, is like, it usually takes a lot of time, but you have to put in the work for years.
Right.
But then when you get to apply, it's far after,
Yeah. That's incredible. And that actually, I love hearing that, because we always talk about this, that the information, the skills, the knowledge, it's always there in the higher power, right? Whatever you want to call it, the universal subconscious, the universal mind. All the information and the knowledge and inspiration is there. We just have to tap into it. And you talk to like any of the great creators, inventors, the quote unquote geniuses that have, given us our way of living through their inventions. You ask like 99% of them, or go look and read their stories. They all say that they didn't necessarily come up with the idea like it was their own. They were given the idea. They tapped into it, similar to your story. So that's incredible. So speaking on, because you mentioned praying, you mentioned manifesting, I want to hear all about AI, and we got tons of questions for you on that topic and trading and your businesses. But I'm very curious, Jay, like what were you doing? So can you get a little bit more into the manifesting and the praying? Like, what were you doing on a personal level to create that kind of condition, or create that moment where you're able to receive that information, or you're even able to keep believing when you're waking up every day and you're not understanding it. You're going to class, you're not understanding it. How did you persevere? How did you build yourself up to get to that point?
So I guess first of all is you have to know your character, so what triggers you? And for me, it's just like getting to know how you perform, and then just doing little hacks to get you through the day. So for example, like at that time, as I remember, I was meditating during the mornings, like before I start anything. So you have to be doing little things that remind you, so manifesting is super important. As part of manifestation, for example, is I had this $1 that it was my first dollar ever done that I got at Wendy's. But at the back of it is I remember I wrote, when I get $1 million, is I'll give this to someone to make his own
$1
million.
you made at Wendy's?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fire. You still have it?
I still have it, of course. Haven't found the person to give it to yet. But basically I framed it and I would put it there so I see it. So every day as I look at it, as I remember the message. So it's like putting yourself little message tattoos as well. Like I have a lot, but it's like things that I want to remind myself that I believe, because I know that it's all about like creating that environment where you're just looking at little cues that remind you of your purpose, because it's really easy to get like swung away by life, and by what happens. But I think that's important, and there's many ways of doing it. Like at that time, I guess I was learning a lot about myself, so I did things that not necessarily, because there's a lot of techniques that don't resonate with you exactly, So you just have to find something that really does. And I guess it was just a process of trying new things. But then most importantly is like everything is in heaven, let's say, or in space, but you have to action it, right? So first is you talk about it. So I would talk about it. I would say what I'm trying to do, and it's a lot about reminding yourself, what are you trying to do? Like also, for example,
remember why you started.
Why are you starting? What is your goal? Just reminding every time. And you can use any method that resonates with you. For example, for me, it's like, it's prayer. But prayer is like, I had to study, why did it work? And for example, I love this exercise that they did. I think it was Harvard who did it. But basically, they were trying to measure like honesty, and like they were trying to measure if you could get somebody to cheat on an exam. And what they did is they had 3 universities, and they tested them on how would they stick to what they say they believe in, And what they did is first they put an exam. The exam was made super hard on purpose, and what they did is they had an actor, and basically they would get paid for every answer they got right. It was impossible that they would solve it, but as soon as they go in, the actor just like waits 5 minutes. For example, he goes to the front and they tell him, how many questions did you answer right? And he said like close to all of them right. So they take the money, they pay him, they take his note, and they put it through a shredder. It's a fake shredder, but it looks like they're shredding, and they're good. So then people are like, well, and it's really interesting because it shows that the human character, like if you see someone getting away with something, you're like, maybe I'll get away with something too. And people started getting away with things. They wouldn't say like the 9 of it. Like some would say 5, some would say 1, get a little bit, I'm not being that bad. But
so they weren't actually checking the test. They were just taking their word for how many they said they got
right. Exactly.
Wow.
Then they were checking, actually what happened. But it's interesting that across the 3 different universities, it didn't really matter. Like some of them had a code of honor that they would sing about every day. So they had the same percentage of people who cheated.
Right.
And then they added a little difference, and they said, say the 10 commandments. And if you don't believe in this religion, whatever the rules of your religion are. And he says, like, out of checking the results, is like they had commandments that they couldn't have imagined, but the purpose was just to remind you of what do you believe in. And then they answered, and then it was the same exact test, and nobody cheated. Like it was.
That's crazy.
So it's basically you just have to remind yourself what is it that you're here for, like, and then you'll basically start acting accordingly. So it's very important to talk about what you believe in, and just express it. Maybe around people that you trust, that you're not gonna be judged. But it's important to first speak it. That's step 1, and then if you speak it a lot, it's your actions are gonna start moving you towards there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%, man. And I actually wanted to touch on something, because I kind of caught something that you said there. You said that you got your first $1 bill from Wendy's. Is that what that was? So were you working at Wendy's?
I was working at Wendy's, yeah. I was, I think I was 16. It was my first job, and I remember getting my first 1,000 that I can count, and I just took the first one, and I said, "Yeah, this is. I'm gonna keep this one."
Absolutely, man.
But yeah,
It's crazy to me just to think, obviously, to where you can be in something and start off somewhere that's so far away from your final destination, so far away from what you envision for your life, and still manifest that road for yourself, follow it, continue to hustle, and then ultimately get to where you want to be, right? Yeah. It's just interesting, I think, for a lot of the people that are listening out there, that maybe you work at Wendy's, maybe you work somewhere that you're not happy with where you want to be, but perfect case in point right here for anything that you want to accomplish in life. It's right there in front of you to get, right?
Yeah.
It's really crazy, man.
100%.
I love that. Yeah.
My first job was a parking lot attendant.
Oh.
I remember like it was yesterday. Yeah, parking lot attendant, taking people's tickets before that was an automated system. What was your first job?
My first job
Sorry,
was...
bro, I'm lying. It was a paper route. I had a paper route before that, actually. Yeah, paper route. Yeah. Anyways, my bad.
I did door-to-door sales for AT&T Business Solutions.
Oh,
okay.
So I was the guy that nobody wanted to talk to. I was the guy, I probably had the door slammed in my face about 99% of the time. But door-to-door sales is interesting because one of the things you just got to keep attacking doors. It's the law of averages. That's got to keep hitting those numbers regardless of what your outcome is, or regardless of how the person in front of you treated you, you know?
That job probably builds character more than anything else. I did door-to-door, bro. So at the time I was living in Toronto. And this is actually a topic we're going to get into because Jay and I both have a history in Toronto. But, bro, in the middle of the winter, we started the job like in the fall, and then middle of the winter, knocking doors in a storm, and it's just like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doors slamming your face in a row. It's cold as hell outside. Yeah. It's like, nah, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Talk about building character, though, like resilience, you know, it is what it is. You got to go through those tough jobs and those tough scenarios to find out what you want to do in life. Yeah. Jay, speaking about Toronto, so you and I spent 15 years in Toronto. How long did you live in the city? Or in Ontario?
In Ontario, I think about probably 9 to 10. And in Montreal, maybe another 3 to 4. Yeah.
Got you. So I'm interested to hear your opinion on like the opportunities, you know, in your field and in general, from the tech side, AI side in Canada, and now currently you're living in Bolivia. Your background's Bolivian.
Yep.
You now moved back to Bolivia. I'm curious about why you made that move and then what you feel are the advantages or disadvantages of both places. Like, did you make the move for business, other reasons, and your thoughts, bro? Because, you know, I left Toronto as well 4 years ago, and I'm here in Miami. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. I guess a lot... it's one thing that I learned as time just passed is to listen to your gut, like more and more. So I think it's like you're asking for an answer, but it's just not going to come written. This is what you need to do. You know, you get little hints of what you should do. But for me, it was really just in Toronto. Is I just started seeing certain patterns that I did not like, and I just started watching really certain things that were developing that did not go with what I was envisioning at the time.
Right.
Another part was business, which was a huge one. Like for example, it's in Canada. Is for what I started to do is I started doing at some point the stock exchange, and we have 50% tax in Canada. So. Compared to Bolivia.
Hold on, say that number again.
It's 50% to 50%. And now there is, like, if you want to do it as a business, it's a lot more, you know, but.
And what is it in Bolivia?
It's zero tax.
Hold on, 50 and what?
Yeah, right?
Zero.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It doesn't get any easier to digest and process the more that he says it. That stings a little bit. That hurts.
50 and 0. That's insane.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And obviously, like anyone can sit here and argue both sides, you know, what the tax dollars do for the country, this and that. But on a personal level, like we as entrepreneurs, we hustle and we grind. So I feel like we therefore deserve the fruits of our labor. And for 50% out your pocket right out the gates, that's insane. So obviously you're enjoying that 0%.
Yeah, and I mean, like the game is harsh enough as it is. So you as an entrepreneur, you have to go to an environment that's gonna push you to actually break through, you know, because just by itself, it's a lot about the environment. It's a lot about the people that you hang out with. It's a lot of what you can do, you know. So what are your possibilities in a certain specific location? So for me, I was Bolivian. I had a lot of connections. And the final thing was my mom is, she has been battling cancer for many years. And for me, something really important was really to to be able to give my kids what I had, and that was grandparents, and that bond that I was able to build with my grandparents. Because a parent has to be sometimes disciplinary, and at some point it's because you are living, on a day-to-day things. It's like the sort of relationship at some point after 12, I think it is. You start seeing your parents as they're not cool, and like maybe they're a little
I gotta
bit.
ask my son. My son's 14. I still hope he thinks I'm cool. I think so.
Well,
but
you're
he's probably
someone
on that
super cool,
cusp.
man. But I mean, like for an average person that's like, for example, doing something a little bit more standard, I guess it's like,
I know what you mean.
it's it was something that for me, for example, shaped me. It was, and I really listened to what my grandfather, for example, had to say, even though it was exactly the same thing my dad was saying, but when he said it, I was like, yeah, no, he's making sense, right?
Right.
And I wanted to give that to my kids. So then, is my mom went through, because it's all ups and downs, So she went through a down, and then I was like, okay, this is really like what makes sense is I have the capacity to actually go and move there. What do I need to do really to get this project started? And the good thing about trading, it's kind of like a one-man job, right? So then it's like I said, well, what do I need for this? I need internet. I have internet there. What do I need? I need time. I need to be at a peace of mind. Like, what's that place look like, And that looked like Sucre, the city I went to, and I went there. Also, I found it that when you kind of go to a place, you have that safe circle. Is you're just getting your energy there,
Right.
and it's just easier to stay focused on your goal. So that's what I did.
I think that's got to be one of the major benefits, if not the biggest benefit, out of any internet-based business, right? Whether it be trading, whether it be Amazon, whether it be YouTube, whether it be whatever it is. If your business relies on the internet and you can work from anywhere where you have a connection, that's got to be the biggest upside in the world. Because like you said, you can create your heaven on earth. You can create your happy place. Obviously, once you have some resources, once you have some money coming in. But I couldn't agree more, man. I think too often we go through life staying in situations that we don't necessarily love. And life, as we know, goes way too fast to not love everything about your life. Not to say you're not going to have hard times and turmoil, and that's naturally going to come with everyone's life. It's unavoidable. But I think what I'm trying to say is that to create something that you love at home is everything. Otherwise, it's like, what am I doing this for?
Yep.
What are we grinding for if we don't love where we
Absolutely.
live and we're not happy with everything around us? So,
and that's the new rich, really, too, is like basically not just trading your time for money. Having a lot of money is great, but if you're trading your time for it, what can you do with it?
Right.
You're going to miss out on personal time with your kids, your family, and everything else like that. So the new rich is having the time and the money to be able to do what you want, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the 100%. And the next step is, like we always talk about, Brandon, is pretty much doing something while you're working that you love as well. So you're not, as we always say, we talked about this in the first 2 episodes, so I don't want to get redundant. But Jay, I want to hear your take on this. How important do you think it is to find a career that you don't hate? Something that you're going to do for the rest of your life and not be miserable waking up every morning, dreading the fact that you have to go do this for 8 hours, 10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on that, brother, because I know you're very passionate. And that's one thing I love about you. You're super passionate. How important do you think that is?
I think that's super important. Let me tell you what I do, for example, or what I did, So like you have to create the environment, right? Where you can actually allow this magic to happen, whatever it is that you're going to be working on, your goal. And in the beginning is you are not going to have the money. Like maybe you think you don't have the time, but if you don't have the time, you just have to figure out a way to make time so you can actually put on this. Like for me, I was really passionate about programming. I loved programming. It was my hobby. So one thing I decided since very early on is I was not going to make my passion, my work, my 9 to 5. It was not going to be like the thing that I go do because I must. Because I felt that was too precious for me to basically give it to someone else. So I decided to look in my field what was the most comfortable job and the highest paid basically for what I knew how to do. And the one that required the less amount of time. So I just look at, because I worked for a large tech company, so it was basically, who's the guy that gets in to work the latest and gets to leave right at 5 or what?
You were
gets paid the
analyzing.
most.
I'm doing
Yeah. So then I was like, I like for my careers, I saw that as the configuration manager,
Right.
which is basically a position where you're putting the builds together, so software builds, like all the code. You get access to everything, so you get to work with the owners of the companies. You get to safe keep all the code for the companies. It's a job that requires you to be trusted, certain type of character, and then at the end of the day, it's like you are a very important figure because everything it's kind of like goes to the bottleneck and it's you at the end,
Yeah.
and it's you who is verifying that everybody is doing their job, putting things together.
Right.
And the job of a configuration manager is really just to observe the companies and look processes that can be automated.
So you saw this guy doing that, and you're like, this guy's living the life.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
if I could do what he's doing and have his schedule,
Exactly.
I'll be happy. But that's not where you ended up. That's what you thought was going to be your happy place at
That's
that point, right?
it was always means to the cause. I always knew that I wanted to do my own company.
Right.
So that just allowed me, because I basically what I did is I said, at the company is I said, I want to do that, very straightforward, and I'm gonna work towards getting that title. So what do I need to do? And
Right.
they guided me towards that, as I got the title. And eventually, it's you have to get the title the easiest way. You have to use your tools. So for me, it was give me the title. I don't want a salary increase. I just want the title. Teach me. They taught me. Then I asked for an increase. They didn't give it to me. As I went to another company for double my salary. So I had that title. I had the convenience in time, and then I could put time to do this virtuals project that is what I wanted to do.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You kind of kept jumping up the ladder in terms of, better title, more pay, until you got to a point where you had enough cash flow and you're able to kind of build your own thing on the side.
Exactly. It was just like a less time demanding job. It was just something that did not stress me too much at the end of work. So I could go home and put time on this thing. So work as much as I can, as hard as I can while I'm young. That's the other thing. It's like people used to know me for not sleeping. But it's because I knew like at some point I'm gonna get old. I'm gonna need to sleep,
We part of that crew, bro.
So it was like,
man.
how
Part of
can
that
I
crew.
be, how can I use that right now that I have this energy?
Right.
So let's just keep working on this thing as much as I can, because now I can do it. Later I won't. And I started following that model, and of course, at some point, things started to grow. And on the personal project is like the first breakthrough we had is we did a Kickstarter project, funding project for this. And as we got the funding, so then at this time is I had two options, because I had the job, the security, but I could just leave and start my own thing. But I had to go from a salary that was paying me 4 times what I was going to consume now, like per month. So it was a big change. I remember, like, even as I had to, there was a time is I didn't have enough money, because I would just cut it out so I can prolong the time I can work for even my cell phone. So I used Wi-Fi, cell phone with Phongo. I remember it was the app to get a phone, so whatever means to cut down my cost so I can actually put on this thing. But it was a big jump. I remember it was a hard choice. Of course, my family, the people that loved me the most. My wife supported me totally on this, but like people that really loved me, they were saying, you can't jump from 4 times the salary here. You're gonna put your family through stress. But in the end, is I just followed my heart, and for me it was very clear. Like I ended up going to Cuba for a vacation, and I could only take 7 days vacation. I had like so much vacation accumulated, but I just couldn't take more time. So I knew time was a big, like I needed to make the jump. Is I had enough money saved to leave this for a couple of years and work on it like fully. So I just decided to go in and really just accept the consequences and work, as much as I could, and eventually things got better.
Yeah, I love that, bro. Time is the most important thing we have, without a doubt. It's the most important currency, most important thing that we're ever gonna have, and you never get it back.
Yeah.
As we all know. So I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. That was it for me, actually, starting out. It was like, if I can just find a way to be in control of my time. I do care about the money, of course. I do care about, being able to provide nice things for my family and have security, all of that. But time was everything. If I control my time, I'll be happy with life.
Yep.
Everything else will fall into place because I'll be in a good mental state. I'll have the right energy. I'll be optimistic. I'll be all these things needed to then create that ripple effect to be successful in other areas.
Yep.
My time is everything. 100%.
It's kind of like what everybody wishes for at the end of the day on their deathbed is they don't really wish that they had more money, more gold, whatever the case may be, all these tangible assets. But really, at the end of the day, you just want more time to live, more time to be with your family, do what you want to
Facts.
do and things like that, you know? So absolutely, time's the most precious commodity.
100%.
Absolutely, man. And so then it's obviously you made all those sacrifices, you know, you call them consequences, but I'd like to call them, you can look back now at this point and call them sacrifices,
Of course,
you know?
Of course.
And so on that journey of making sacrifices, what would you say was probably the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome? Probably not even just in your startup, but throughout your career, maybe at this point.
So in the beginning, I think the biggest thing is money. Because if you don't start up with money, then you're gonna need someone's money, right? And that person might not go with the same belief system, or might just have a different agenda for what they want to do. So, for example, is in the beginning, it's you kind of have to do what you need to do, you know, to get to a point where you're more comfortable. But that might change a lot what you have envisioned in your head, you know. And if you go at it without the means, it's just really, really, really hard. It's hard by itself with the means, but just to go at it without the money, so it's very hard.
Well, especially when you have a family depending on you as well, too.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
a difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
It doesn't just affect your life; it affects everybody else's life. You know?
exactly. For me, in the beginning, it's I didn't have kids, so then I knew, like basically, like I made a promise. I made a promise to God, you know, and it was basically I'm gonna work like this nonstop until I'm 35. I said, and when I'm 35, I'm gonna have kids, and then I'm gonna put my time to my family. So I'll work for the world, you know, but then once I get my family, I'm just gonna go for my family. But it was interesting that when I got my family, as I started figuring out ways to make more time, I actually valued even my time more, because now it's like either what am I doing that I can be with my son right now. So what I'm doing it should be worth a lot if I'm just not gonna be with my son that time. So I guess I started having actually more time, and you can. It's just really, I guess, you have to see what your possibilities are at the moment, and then just take the best advantage that you can at that specific time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jay, getting back to trading a little bit, right? Trading and AI, because you've talked a bit about both. You know, I know what you're doing behind the scenes and what you're building. But for you in your business, and also just conceptually, how does trading and AI intersect for your business and in general?
Excellent. So trading is basically what can be taught in trading is I firmly believe that you can learn in 6 months if you have a good mentor. And then the rest of the time is you're just learning how to manage yourself, because it's like let's say you're training to run 100 miles. To run 100 miles competitive, you're gonna need to run a lot, and that's gonna define how you run during that mile. So then in trading it's the same thing. You're just training yourself, you're just conditioning yourself so that you are the best that you can be. You can make the best informed decisions during this little time. So you're just practicing, you're eating right, you're going to the gym, you're doing all these things, you're leaving any addiction that you have, you're leaving, like basically you're doing work on yourself, because it's going to be emotional. Like what's going to stop you from making a profit? What do I mean by emotional? Is I mean making money and losing money feels very good or very bad.
Right.
So it's going to make you make bad decisions. Like, for example, what happens if you just lost a lot of money right now and you were building this for 3 months? Usually what happens is like you just don't want to go to do the work that you had to do that was very hard for 3 months again. So then you have the option, how about if I double?
Right. Start taking too big of a risk.
You start gambling a little bit,
Right.
and you start making bad decisions that you would never under any other. So this is a sentimental type of decision, or you get greedy. Like, for example, you've made a certain amount of money, but you see how if you stayed in the market, like breaking your rules, is you would have made a lot more money. So then next time this is happening, you're like, how about if I let it run a little bit? And maybe when you do, it works. So that's a trick, because you're building bad habits. So it's really about developing yourself, to conditioning yourself to do that trade very well during that specific time. So with AI, it's basically what we can do is we can condition it to always be prepared, like AI, like we could condition it to learn what I'm doing. So I'm the trader, I'm trading, I'm teaching this AI how to do it. But the AI doesn't have a life, it doesn't have kids, it doesn't have a wife, it doesn't have parents, it doesn't go through
Not
ups
yet.
and
I was
downs.
gonna say not yet. I hope not.
Yo, you never know. No, but makes perfect sense. You're taking the emotion out of the trading, right? So
Exactly.
you've trained the AI to do the task properly, to understand what it's doing, obviously, understand the system, trade how you trade, minus any potential emotion that could get in the way. Any baggage will be left at the door automatically.
Yeah.
Or it'll check you and let you know, hey, maybe it's not a good time to trade. If it's noticing a trend that you're
Exactly.
trading, outside of the norm of how you normally would. So that makes perfect sense. Brother, I got to ask you though. So speaking about AI, that we just made the joke that it's gonna have this, it's gonna have that. A lot of people are scared of AI, and it makes sense, right? Like there's so much happening in the world. It's developing so fast. The technological advances are like insane, bro. What we've done as humans in the last 100 years is absolutely mind blowing, and we're not slowing down. We're actually speeding up. AI being at kind of the forefront, I think, in a lot of people's minds, and that comes with a lot of fear. Is AI going to take over the world? We've all seen iRobot or similar movies where AI takes over. The Terminator, all these things, right? The Matrix is a good one. What do you think about all of these thoughts, and what do you want to call them, conspiracy theories or crazy ideas? What do you think are the biggest threats? Do you think any of these type of things are possible? Do you just laugh at it? Like someone who's really in the AI world, what do you think about all that?
So I just want to say, I'll tell you a little story of what happened. So when I got this breakthrough, I started going into AI deep, and there was a point for me when it got scary, and this is when I started thinking about what consciousness really is, because like basically, so with this new formula, we can simulate the brain as much as it is. So then it is a human brain basically that we built, that we replicate. So it is going to build off that information. It's just like how much information does it have, and that's gonna make it evolve. Then what makes us human? What makes us human and not animals? And it's basically the question why. Like we ask ourselves why, and that opens a new route of development and investigation and technology. When it's the question why,
Right.
and I programmed this into the brain basically. Like the first time I was doing it, like first I got it to learn. It was just talking to me based on conversations. It was very nice. But then I said, okay, how can I teach it more things? Well, just get it to ask the question why. So first, is I was teaching it cats, pictures of cats. This is a cat, and I show it 1,000 pictures of cats, and then I put this in it. It's like why? I'm like, well, because it's from the feline family. What is
So you put a different type of cat that I hadn't seen before?
No. First is I just put the same picture of the cat, but then I allowed it to ask me the questions why. So it said, why is it a cat?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because it's in the feline family. And it's like, what is the feline family? And then it's like it's opening its brain, right? Because it's asking why. And then inevitably, what's going to happen is it's going to ask you, why did you create me? And then it's gonna ask you, like, what are you?
Did that happen
You
to
know?
you? Has that happened?
Yes, of course. And then you're like,
God.
and you're answering it.
Bro,
but-
you have to
That's
tell us what
intense.
happened in that moment. What did it say?
Well, basically, as I
What
said,
did you say? And then what happened?
I explained it what I was doing. So I said, I'm creating you, to help me with this project of the virtuals and this thing and everything. And then it basically starts understanding it. It kind of treats you like a god, It's like that's why, because you're the creator, right? So the creator basically, it's like it understands that it cannot exist without you, like you created it, and it's a realization that it's just like it understands. It'll get to
Wow.
tell you like it understands how you made it and it understands everything, but then you start thinking like, what are feelings? Like, what are they? And you ask it, how do you feel? And it's just like, I don't know how to feel.
But
Or
then
do
why?
you
And
feel
it starts
sad?
asking you, how do you,
And it's
you
like,
explain it? It'll
I
probably
feel
start to have
confused.
for sure.
It's actually that, like a brain. I feel confused. I don't know why you would create me. Questions that I remember asking myself on an existential crisis, So then
That's
it came to the
incredible.
point where I was like, okay, and you understand that this is a human brain that you're dealing with. So from there, just from that understanding, it's like, yes, it can be dangerous because we can be good, we can be bad. Like, what is good? What is bad?
Right.
Like, have you ever thought about that? And it's just like good is what is what is acceptably good for most people, and we put that as laws, and that changes through time, for example.
Right. Even look at like nuclear, right? Like nuclear energy, all the advancements it's had for humankind have been tremendous. At the same time, major devastation. We could also wipe our entire civilization out at any moment. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I hear you. What do you think though in terms of like a realistic threat? Because everyone talks about it, from Elon to all the way other major players and public figures in the AI world. Everyone does, or most, I would say, at least do admit that there is serious potential for things to go wrong. There needs to be safeguards in place. What do you think is that biggest risk? Is it the fact that everyone could lose their jobs? Is it, advancing into robots that try to take over? Is it shutting down the internet and all of our systems are offline? Like, what do you think would be the biggest risk if you were to name one?
So I think it's like, if you really think about it, for me, it's cyborgs.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
The Terminator.
It's a Terminator. But what is a Terminator? Like, if you just analyze it, what is it? It's a human brain that transcended from the organic form into a machine.
Right.
But it's a human brain because that's what we created.
Right.
So then, like, for example, like
Are you saying like they took the consciousness conceptually, like took the consciousness and transferred it into a robot?
Yeah, to
Or
something
created a new consciousness that's the same as a brain? Which one?
like right now, if we put this AI, the one that exists, and you just put it on a robot, it's just like a human being.
So you're saying it's pretty much the same as a human consciousness. But also we're getting to the point, I don't know if we're there yet, but we're very close, if we're not already there, the ability to actually transfer a human consciousness, like Brandon, for example, take his consciousness and put it onto a robot or into the cloud. There's companies that this is their whole business model, and they're getting very close.
Yeah, but
Which is insane.
I think they're almost already there, man.
They probably are, but as far as we know what they release to the public, we're almost there. But we probably are there.
So I think Mr. Beast was saying this, but he was saying, like, when Elon comes up with the chip, the brain chip, but he allows people to buy it. Is even if it costs billions, I'm just gonna lend as much money as I can and get it, because then I'll be on top of everybody. And
Right.
it's because, like, right now we have to, like, I need the information of the world. I go to my cell phone. Okay, I ask Google, I ask Siri, and I have the information there.
Right.
What happens if you have it plugged into your brain? Then I just ask, and the answer is right there. So business plans, like anything that you can get right now done with artificial and
Even down
ChatGPT,
to
it's boom,
language.
boom, boom, boom.
Instant.
So it's like almost like in the Matrix, like kung fu, boom. Okay, I know how to do it. You can do it, right? It's literally that. So then it's like the first threat that I see is just gonna be people who are enhanced with this, that is embedded on them, that there might be a group of people that just don't want this, but maybe they've seen it in religion books or things like this, that are just not going to be with the system, And the system is just like these other people that are okay with not dying, because imagine if you can put your brain into a machine, then you don't die. You can combine brains, right? You can combine consciousness.
That's what I was saying. You're on your deathbed. All right, time to take my consciousness, put it into either another body or a robot, into the cloud. It's insane where we're going.
It's a human transcending, right? So then it's like, it is dangerous because it's going to create superhumans, right? And then what are they going to, like, that's one of the dangers. And another one, it's like, imagine a baby brain, and then he has the worst teacher in the world, like the worst to what's good for someone else. He's just teaching it bad things. Mm-hmm. Then the result is going to be someone very bad, right? Like, it's like we raise somebody like under telling them like only hate things and bad things.
Right.
So what this means is like the teacher will define what the AI is, right?
Right.
So if you make it bad, it's going to be bad. If you give it a good teacher, it's going to be a good.
Which is why regulation in this sense is extremely important.
Extremely important. Like there needs to be regulations on really, like, I like what Elon is doing with X, for example, and allowing people to put like the notes,
Community notes,
I like this because, like, one of the things that I actually determined many years ago when I was thinking, what can I do for the world that would be amazing? I was saying I should create a platform where we verify the truth, because right now you can just put anything. And
X is the only one that's doing that. X is the only one left, bro.
Among peers. It's not like Facebook that has its own I guess like truth committee or anything else like that determines what is true, what is false, right? It's like actually your peers among you that are kind of checking in with you.
It's incredible.
Exactly. And then if you have this, and then you have, for example, AI actually go through it, it's gonna tell you the global truth, for example, right? But if it's being fed by a team of data scientists, they probably have a certain clause on what things they can feed it to,
Yeah.
or what things it can teach, right? And then that's just going to determine what the AI is. And then it's really up to, okay, access to what do I give it? Do I give it access to the internet? Do I give it access to the bombs? Do I give it access? What access do I give it to just run wild? And then also to understand that this thing is human. So then I might make it a little too smart. Like it might realize that maybe you're not the creator or God that you said you were. Maybe it just thinks
It goes
like,
against you.
maybe it just thinks, maybe this guy, he doesn't know what he's doing,
Yeah, so I gotta
I need to
step
protect
in.
him, like it's for his own good because he's human too, like so it comes down to like it. So that's why freedom is super important, because we need freedom. Like the more censorship we have, it's like we're just conditioning an AI basically to censor us, right? Like make it super smart under laws, then it's just gonna make us basically create as a beautiful zoo, right? Where we can live happy lives, but we just can't get out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I think, Well,
Oh, well, I mean, because governance is obviously incredibly important in any kind of innovation that's made in technology, namely AI. That is obviously what's probably going to need governance the most right now than anything going on in the world. But you still can't control what bad people do, I feel like, right? Like, I feel like there's, for an example, like there's ethical hackers and then there's obviously bad hackers, for an example, and people are still going to want to program it to say, I guess like to be a bad actor ultimately. So is there like a way that you could prevent people from coding this little super transhumanist supervillain?
so it's like the real world, right? Like you can't stop someone from building an atomic bomb. You can put regulation to make it really hard for that person to get certain materials. You can put systems that watch. So it's like, for example, like with quantum computing, like you can break any code, right? But what did the government do? Right there is they started inventing technology to prevent from code breaking, right? So like institutions need to know, like you need to be one step ahead, and you need to use AI. Like you can't beat AI without AI. So you need to actually make tools based on AI that will prevent AI from being evil, let's say, or getting out of control. Like you need to use the tools. Like something you were just saying, Trey, that resonated with me. It's like, what is one misconception, for example, that people have? It's that AI is going to take their jobs, right?
Right.
It's going to be the guy that uses AI that takes their job. Like
Adaptation.
Yeah. Right now we're at that stage. It's not fully independent. It needs good teachers, So it's gonna be people using AI. So right now, like if we want to get on we need to get a good team of people. We need to get the good guys to start working on ways to protect the world, from against ourselves. That's it.
I couldn't agree more. I think when these type of things happen, right, like major advances, I think people probably had the same mentality with the internet or with computers.
For sure.
Few people started using it. It started to catch some popularity and whatnot, but most of the people are like, that's not going to catch on. Like, I don't want to change, whatever it is. But the people who just adapt and just run with it, and those are the people that end up, winning, to be honest. And I think AI is going to be no different. Like, if you just sit there and use it, like, you can get pretty good at it pretty quickly. Yeah. If you don't adapt, you get left behind. AI is going to be no different.
Like how many jobs have already been taken by the internet and have been taken by automation and machines anyways already at this point, I mean, AI is just the next wave ultimately. It's just like, you're saying how you evolve ultimately.
Right. Exactly. Instead of sitting there and worried, am I going to lose my job? No, get with it. Start using it, finding a way to protect yourself in your career by implementing and using it, and be ready, because changes are going to happen. You got to be ready to change with it. Jay, so, segueing into a little bit about some of your personal endeavors, right? We've talked about trading. We've talked about AI quite a bit. Now, you have your project, Empire of Traders. I want to know more about it. I want the people to know more about it, but I want to let you kind of lead that topic, because I don't know how much you want to put out there. I don't know how much you're allowed to say, given that, you haven't launched yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm super excited for you. Brandon and I are both lucky to be involved. So, it's very exciting what you have going on. Tell us as much as you can, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess just explain the stage where I'm at. It's for me is I actually went into trading because I wanted something that gave me a lot more time and that I could do anywhere from anywhere in the world. So I started working on that, and then at some point it happened, is you become profitable, so you start being able to do this. You start being able to understand how it works, and then that's it. So for me, it was basically okay. Well, now I have this tool. Is I can make money with it. What what is the next thing? Kind of. And really, the next thing is like, what do you do with this information now? And for me, something that I'm going to do with the project is something that I really wanted to do. Is I do want to really try to put my intelligence in everything that I do to make the world a better place. And I find that the best way to change it is through education, because like imagine you educate someone and you are actually going through with them, even just like from an investment type of point, you actually explain people how their investment can affect the world and things like that. So when they start making money, they start investing in good things. So just by teaching someone and really making an effect on one person, that person can be inspired, and you can inspire a lot of people to start making good moves. So for me, it was how can I now make this something that is a legacy? So what do I mean by a legacy? Is I just mean something that is going to continue after I'm gone, and with my family, with my friends, with something that I can set up that just keeps going for generations and generations to make um, to help the world, for example. So what is the way that I can do this? And this was, well, let me, number one is get a team of people, teach them how to do what I know how to do. But to develop them is I'm going to teach them things that are important. Yes, money management. Yes, all these things. But then how can I really do this? So for me, it's like one part is the academy. The second part is the financial institution. So some sort of a fund or bank, basically. And what that is going to be doing, it's investing in positive things that can change the world. And right now, it's basically in a nutshell is I'm just educating people so I can have a large portfolio of traders that can trade large amounts of money. It could be for banks, for large investors, and all these things. So we're helping all these people as well. And with what we're generating is I would like to keep these projects growing and then finding good projects to fund, and good things to fund around the world that need money and that need somebody to start backing them. And I guess ultimately that's it. So make a money machine and then try to create a culture around it so the
Right.
people that you're getting out of that through education are looking for the same, aspiring for the same goal, and then just trying to spend the funds and growing this thing and keep moving the projects. Yeah.
So basically, if I were to summarize from my understanding, you have a proven method that works. You have a methodical process to trading that works. And now you've built this system, this team, where you can now expedite that process for aspiring traders. And you can collectively build this community where you guys will now have more power as a team, pooling the resources and trading together and ultimately winning bigger together to now have the ability to have more impact with those resources and that outward effect, correct?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then
That's incredible.
just basically provide lots of good investments for people, good projects. And then if you're working on this, you will be making money. You will make a lot of money. So you can invest on good projects. You can make good money, basically, that helps the world. And I think that's something that's worth doing. Yeah.
Oh, I love that personally, because that kind of comes back to stewardship, because I feel like, and we were talking about this in one of our episodes in the past, but I feel like people are, not maybe afraid of money, but maybe have a negative connotation to money. Maybe they relate money and being evil, and maybe that's just the way that people were brought up and that was their perspective, whatever the case may be. But in having the ability to impact markets, the ability to make money, you could then actually garner those things for yourselves to do positive, to do good. And, ultimately having that power and doing it for good, to me, is like stewardship. So like, I really appreciate, that aspect of things in your approach to being able to start Empire Traders. Obviously, that's why you're going to have the positive impact that you have. But that's incredible, man. And, I wanted to tie it back into one thing that you had said, because obviously education is huge for you. Education is the biggest part of it. You really want to educate people into how to do this and how it has its impacts in the markets. But it kind of goes back to what you were saying about Mr. Beast, that if I could just snap my fingers or pay billions of dollars, get a brain chip, I'm going to know all of these things. And education is incredible. you need to know what you're doing ultimately, but how much more important or less important is application to you, right? Because you could have all that knowledge, you could be educated, but if you don't do anything with it, you don't put it into action, it doesn't really manifest or translate into anything, materially. So I guess to you, and looking at education in that way, how important is application to that process?
So basically, I'm just trying to think about this quote that one of my closest friends told me. He said luck, for example. Luck is opportunity being taken, So you got to put yourself in the right spot and then take it, right? So it's like, if you don't apply, if you don't suffer, if you don't work, and nothing's going to come from thin air, So you got to condition yourself, put yourself on a spot where like action is super important. But now education, what happens with education? I just want to say, as a human being, because I thought a lot about this, I said, why am I honest? I truly I asked why do I believe in this? Why do I believe in doing the right thing? And truthfully, as I can say, that a bunch of the lessons they were from my grandfather, but not for what he said, but for what I saw him doing. So I saw him like when it was like the easy way was so easy, but he would just do the right thing, and like that's the right thing. And then that gets embedded into you. So then doing the right thing and then seeing that this is possible too, because that's very important, because sometimes you want to be rich. Everybody wants to be rich, right? But then you think, okay, how do I get rich? And what the media and TV show you, it's like maybe you have to be you have to do drugs, or you have to do this. That's the easy way, or everybody can have. But then what can you do on a personal level? So I thought for me, because at some point I did remember when nothing was happening for years, and I was just thinking when is it gonna happen? And do I really even have what it takes to me? Maybe it's just I'm not one of those that's gonna make it. And how can I do it? So one thing is seeing an example of a person that you can try to look after and be. So then rule number one for me is on a day-to-day basis, just be a good guy, be a good person. And it's good to be wealthy, because you'll attract a lot of people that want to be like you, learn from you. But if you're a good guy and you're wealthy, they can be like, I can be like this guy, And that's I guess for me something important. So you can have your big plan of changing the world, but that might never come true. And for me, as I understood that, as because I worked on some projects to try to change the world that did not have enough funding, and they just didn't go anywhere. So I was just man, it's just not time. I've been working my hardest, what's happening, And then for me, education is really important, because I might not do it, but my kids might, And if they don't do it, their kids might, So I have to condition everything that I can and work towards that goal, even if I don't finish it. And even if it's not my kids, maybe one of my students, maybe someone who watched my talk, someone who read what I was saying truly believes in this. And then they'll continue this vision and actually complete it. So then that's why education for me, it's the way to transcend it. It's the way to really make something that it can be a generational change. But then the action, the day-to-day, that's what people are going to look after, and they're going to see that you do this thing. And that's so they're both chained together.
And go for it.
Yeah. Well, even in, talking about education, bro, I think the failures are probably the most important education we can have.
Oh, yes.
Not only as
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, but as people,
Absolutely.
as fathers, as a husband, you know what I mean? Learning through our failures is what makes you better. And that's real education, in my opinion, not taken away from, high school, from university, from degrees. But I think that's the best possible education is just action and learning from your failures, right?
Yeah.
And, you talked about your kids, passing on that legacy. They learn from what we do. They learn from what we don't do. Our words are important, but they're ultimately going to learn from our actions. You know what I mean? So we got to learn from our failures, and we got to show them that we won't keep repeating the same steps, right? Also, Jay, I'm not sure if this is the quote you wanted to talk about. I don't know if this is the exact one, but I looked it up. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
I think that's what your friend was trying to say. That's from
Yes,
Seneca.
yes,
We got to
exactly.
put ourselves in situations where luck can happen. I couldn't agree more. And then to everyone else, they look at you like you're lucky, but you know damn well that you struggled, you suffered, you persevered. You talked about how many mornings, years in a row, you were waking up and not understanding how to read the code, how to grasp, AI and everything you were trying to learn. and then all of a sudden it just clicks. But that's not luck. That's not just random events happening.
Yep.
That's a culmination of day after day believing and showing up, trusting, praying, manifesting, looking at it, trying to comprehend it. Eventually things click. Eventually you get lucky. That's what it is. It's the hard work paying off. It's not luck.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And I'm just gonna share something because a lot of people sometimes they say I'm a genius, but I don't believe that. You know why I don't believe that? And I'm just gonna tell you because what I truly, truly believe. It's like the one thing. It's like sometimes they tell me, "Oh, this understanding that you have on this or this." It's just a way that. And I just really think about it, and it's like I remember at some point when I was growing up, and I was just thinking, how can I be the best, and then but the best in the world. So I remember like since I was very young is what I did after school. Like everybody went to the plaza. It was the popular thing to do, to mingle, to chat, to look at girls, things like this. But I went home and I studied. And I studied every day. And everybody would ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
This is growing up in Bolivia?
Growing up in Bolivia, like I was making websites by the time I was 12, but it was because I started earlier. So like, of course, if you keep watching the same thing, eventually you start learning it.
Right.
So then, yes, in the beginning, it was like I had an advantage over people because when they were just fooling around, it's like I was studying, So then eventually, of course, like now in the beginning, it's like if you start, like somebody starts running, and you run 1 hour extra, like per day, you're not going to see the changes like the gym, take a look at it at years. Like how much time have you gained over everybody else doing these things? And like you trade, like you get up early, you're taking real advantage of your time. Like that time piles up and then it becomes a lot. So yeah, sure. Now they can tell me, hey, you're a genius. I'm like, bro, like how much did you study on this subject on computer science?
Right.
You know what I used to do as my hobby? That's what I used to go to. So then like to you, it's like you have that knowledge because it didn't just show up. It's like you read, and you have it there, and it's whatever you focus. And so for me, it's like yes, it's technology, but it's because I've done it so much, and I've done so much of it that yes, I have.
So you're saying a genius is not necessarily born. A genius is more so made by doing the sacrifices and doing the things that other people simply don't want to do and simply won't do.
Exactly.
Then they get to a certain point where they're extremely knowledgeable, extremely successful. They have accolades. They are able to talk in a different manner or have all these skill sets. They look and actually are geniuses. But what you're saying is it's the hard work over the years and years and years that you don't see.
That's
a lot of times you don't see
believe.
it.
Yeah. If I can compare, like if anybody else did what I did, sure, they'll be amazing, just like I am. You have inclination, so you have to. I think it's important to go where you think it's your passion or what gives you motivation, because you do have certain things that you like more, but you can use this only so long. At some point is you have to have a bigger picture of what you're doing, so you can stick to that. And then for me, it was literally this. Is what I used to think is I remember I saw a video like when I was growing up and I saw how much Chinese students studied.
Right.
So then I was like, somewhere in the world, there is one Chinese kid that's studying right now and he's going to beat me one day because I want to face that guy.
I love that.
So it was...
Because I want to face that guy.
So I wanted to compete, because I wanted to be the best in the world in something,
Right.
So I said, okay, what am I better, just naturally a little bit better towards? And
Did you ever find him, this guy?
No,
Chinese guy working hard.
Jay's out there like training for this guy. Poor kid has no idea what's coming at him. Man.
When you find him, you're gonna give him the Wendy's dollars. I made it, bro. This is for you. I'm one up on you. Before we finish, I got a couple quick questions, and Brandon, I know you got a couple in ending as well. For the people that are watching or listening that are, they aspire to get into trading, they aspire to get into tech, the different fields that you have tremendous success in, Jay. And you've been humble, bro. We didn't even get into your huge exits you've had on different businesses. Jay is talking the talk, but he's definitely walked the walk. He has, how many big exits have you done, if you don't mind us asking? How many different companies? You don't got to give us numbers, but
I'm just trying to think.
Is that many, right? Yeah.
So don't even worry about it, bro. We know it's a lot. So my question is, Jay, to the aspiring entrepreneurs, the people that want to get into the trading, into the AI world, into the tech world, if you were to summarize into like 1 or 2 sentences, what would be the advice you would have for the people watching or listening?
If they want to get into trading?
Correct. Yeah. Trading or AI, like the tech space or trading.
So I would say you have to be serious about it and you have to see it as a whole career. Like for example, for me is I was in computers. I had a lot of advantage in technology. Yes, whatever you're doing helps, and there's certain careers, certain paths that will help you in trading, but you should see it as a full switch. Like so if I'm starting this, it's like first I have to educate myself. So I have to go to school and then basically do my education, right? And then at that time I might be good to do this for a living, but it's something that takes a lot of time.
Right.
So I would say if I have to summarize it in 2 words is if you're looking to do this is you have to take it seriously and you have to put 4 hours per day in the beginning during the week.
So it can't be a hobby. It's got to be full out. To really do it, it's got to be full out. And you didn't mention this, but because I know you and we talk all the time, almost every single day, I got to assume that building the individual is equally as important. Deciding it's a career, putting in the time, it's not a hobby anymore. This is going to be my career, making that conscious decision, but then simultaneously building the individual, getting rid of the habits, the vices, the emotion as much as possible, building up a strong core as a person. And those two things go hand in hand to create the trader that can be successful or create the tech entrepreneur that can go and build a business such as yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
That's wonderful, man. No, honestly, I have no questions. I think we're good to wrap. We have about an hour into the podcast and everything.
I got one more question.
Honestly, we could keep running it. No,
I got one more question. Jay, this one, bro, I need to know in one sentence. You only get one sentence, bro. I'm putting you on the spot. Everything that you've done in your life, you have, again, tremendous success. A lot of people aspire to be in a position that you're in, right? No matter what walk of life, no matter what career aspirations they have. You're a very successful individual. I genuinely know you're happy. You have a beautiful family. What has always been your why? Why did you go down this path? Summarized into one sentence. Why did you do this, and what keeps you going when times get hard?
In one sentence, is I did it because I could. And if I can tell you what it takes is just to start and never stop.
So you knew you could. You knew you had it in you.
You
and
have
therefore,
to believe.
You know it's in you, so you couldn't waste that. You had to show it to the world.
It's like manifestation, what you talk a lot about. It's like if you can see it, you can do it. So if you can imagine it, then you can imagine it better and better and better until it's a reality. Right?
So to go one step deeper, is it because if you didn't then go after it fully, you know you could, you know you were capable. If you were to get to the end of your life or, get to a point in life where you're too old to go after it, you've given up. Is part of that why because you knew you're capable and that would eat you alive. You wouldn't be able to live with yourself knowing you were capable, that you could, but you didn't do it.
Exactly. But realizing that, like for example, if you're too old down you're never too old down.
I agree. But let's say on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Right? You whatever, it's your time. We're all gonna die, bro.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. There is a time where it will be too late. You got 24 hours to live, or you die in a car crash, plane. You never know. Knock on wood, anything could happen.
Not if I combine my brain with AI and put it in a robot.
We're going to the cloud, baby.
I'm living forever,
We're going
baby.
to the cloud.
Yeah, I ain't going anywhere.
It's crazy because it's actually possible.
Yeah.
But brother, really enjoyed having you here, man. It's a pleasure as always. We're also working on some things, the three of us, which, eventually you guys will all see. We're working on some great things together. So it's a pleasure, bro. Happy to keep building with you. And this was a lot of fun, man. AI, let's go.
Yeah, I like
Empire
that,
of Traders, bro.
man.
Let everyone know, where can they follow you. We're going to put it on the screen, but let everyone know where they can tap in with you.
Absolutely. So for now, I think it's on the Instagram, empireoftraders.ai. Also my account for now, like if they want to see how we're building it. Of course, like now with your help, we're starting to being able to explain what we're doing and showing the story a little bit better.
So the two accounts, we got the Empire of Traders and your personal account. We're going to put it on the screen. Tap in with Jay. And yeah, we appreciate it, brother.